Have you ever wondered why certain patterns keep repeating in your life? Why you keep meeting the same kind of people, facing the same emotional storms, even when you try to change? It's easy to blame luck or fate, but in Buddhism, there's something deeper at play: karma. Now, before your mind jumps to punishment or reward, pause. Karma isn't a cosmic judge handing out sentences. It's much more elegant and far more intimate. Karma is cause and effect, a reflection of your intentions, your actions, your energy. Like a seed quietly planted in the soil of the present, it blooms in the future you live through. And here's the profound truth: every thought you entertain, every word you speak, and every choice you make weaves the story of your life. Most people live without ever realizing this quiet power they carry. But once you do, everything changes. In today's journey, we'll explore the 12 laws of karma, not as mystical teachings, but as deeply practical wisdom to heal, to grow, to awaken. These are not laws to obey out of fear. They are truths to live by if you seek peace, meaning, and alignment. And when you understand them, you'll begin to see your life through a new lens. So let me ask you, what if your next thought could shape your destiny? Stay with me. You're about to find out why. Law 1. The great law of karma. As you sow, so shall you reap. Have you ever wondered why life seems to echo back what we put into it? There's a quiet truth whispered through every tradition, but in Buddhism, it's called the great law of karma, the simple but profound truth: as you sow, so shall you reap. Let me tell you a story. There was once a woman who always carried a warm smile. No matter how chaotic the world seemed, she greeted every stranger with kindness, even when her own heart was breaking. Years later, after losing her job and falling ill, she found herself in a hospital bed, feeling forgotten. But something beautiful happened. One by one, people she had once helped those she didn't even remember showed up. One brought food. Another covered her medical bills. She wept, not out of pain, but gratitude. What you give does return. It may not come back tomorrow, or in the way you expect, but the universe keeps perfect accounts. Every act of love, every harsh word, every silent thought, they're all seeds. And seeds take time to grow. If we plant judgment, we'll eventually be surrounded by it. But if we choose compassion, even when it's hard, life has a mysterious way of softening around us. So pause for a moment. Ask yourself, what seeds am I planting today? In my words? In my silence? In the way I treat people who can do nothing for me? The great law is not about fear, it's about power. You hold the power to shape the energy you live in. And if the past hasn't been perfect, that's okay. The beauty of karma is you can start fresh with the next breath. Stay with me, because what comes next might challenge how you view time, relationships, and even your own identity. Hit subscribe if you believe that small inner changes can shift your entire life. Law 2. The law of creation. You attract what you are, not what you want. Have you ever wished deeply for something: a peaceful life, a kind lawn, a better future, but somehow it kept slipping through your fingers? A woman once told me, "I prayed every night for someone to love me, but all I kept attracting was pain." She didn't realize she wasn't living love. She was living fear, doubt, emptiness. And that's what life echoed back. This is the law of creation. Not about dreaming passively, but about becoming that which you desire. You don't attract what you wish for. You attract what you are. So if you long for peace, ask, am I embodying peace in the way I speak, in the way I treat others, in how I treat myself? Karma doesn't respond to what's on your vision board. It responds to your vibration, your daily choices, your mindset, your emotional energy. This law is both confronting and liberating because it puts the power back in your hands. No more blaming fate. No more pointing fingers. You are the artist, the architect, the seed, and the soil. And here's something even deeper. When you change who you are on the inside, the world begins to feel like it's changing too. But it's not the world. It's your lens, your presence, your frequency. So pause and ask yourself, am I creating life from my truest self? Or from fear, habit, or someone else's expectations? Because what you are is what you invite in. Always. If this message touched something inside you, don't just move on. Reflect, realign. And if you feel called, stay with us, because the next law may hold the exact wisdom your heart's been waiting to hear. Breathe, let go, and keep listening. Law 3. The law of humility. What you resist persists. There was once a man who spent years running from his past. He buried the pain, ignored the memories. He told himself, I'm fine. I've moved on. But inside, something kept pulling him back. And maybe you've felt that too. We often think that by resisting our pain, we're being strong. That if we don't look at it, don't name it, it can't control us. But in truth, what we resist only grows stronger. This is the essence of the law of humility. What you resist persists. True change never comes from denial. It begins in the quiet moment when we sit with our reality. When we stop fighting what is and simply allow ourselves to see it. It's not weakness to admit we're hurting. It's wisdom. In Buddhism, humility is not about lowering yourself. It's about opening up, letting go of the illusion that we must always be in control. It's the courage to say, this is where I am, and that's okay. Only then does the energy shift. Only then do we create space for something new to grow. Imagine a garden. If you pretend the weeds aren't there, they'll take over everything. But if you kneel down, gently clear the soil, you make room for flowers. So today, ask yourself, what have I been resisting? A difficult truth? A buried memory? A law of myself I don't want to face? Let that question sit with you, not as judgment, but as a doorway. Because when you stop resisting your truth, you begin to return home to yourself. If this message touched your heart, take a breath and share this video with someone who may need it too. And if you're ready to walk the path of mindful change, subscribe. We walk together, one breath, one truth at a time. Law 4. The law of growth. Wherever you go, there you will be. There was a time when Maya thought that moving across the country would solve everything. She packed her bags, left behind the job, the relationship, the city, everything that reminded her of who she used to be. But months later, sitting alone in a new allotment in a new town, the same emptiness returned. Different walls, same ache. That's when she stumbled upon a quiet but powerful truth from ancient Buddhist wisdom. Wherever you go, there you are. The law of growth doesn't point us to a destination, it points inward. Because the world outside us is only ever a reflection of what's happening within. If we carry chaos, we'll see it in every street, every person, every plan we touch. If we nurture peace, even the busiest city can feel like a sanctuary. It's tempting to think we'll feel better when we land the right job, find the right lawner, or move to the right place. But the truth is, transformation doesn't begin on the outside, it starts in the heart. One thought, one choice, one mindful breath at a time. So instead of asking, how do I change my life? Ask, what am I still running from within myself? Growth means facing what's uncomfortable. It means choosing patience when we want to escape, choosing kindness when we're tempted by bitterness. And slowly, almost silently, the world outside begins to shift. You may not see it all at once, but your energy changes, your relationships deepen, your path clears. Because life responds to who you're becoming, not just what you're chasing. So take a moment today, not to plan your next escape, but to come home to yourself. That's where real growth begins. 7. If this message speaks to your heart, pause and breathe with it. Let it settle. And if you're on a path of healing and inner peace, consider subscribing for more wisdom like this. You're not alone. This space is for you. Ute. Law 5. The law of responsibility. Our lives are of our own doing. Let me ask you something deeply personal. Have you ever looked around at your life, your job, your relationships, your daily routine, and felt stuck? Like no matter how much you try to change the world around you, things just keep looping back to the same place? I've been there. And it wasn't until I heard this simple but profound truth that something shifted. Our lives are of our own doing. This is the law of responsibility. It tells us that everything we experience on the outside is a reflection of what's happening inside. That's a hard pill to swallow, isn't it? Because it means the blame can no longer be placed out there on others, on bad luck, on timing. It means we have to look within. But here's where the real freedom lies. When we take responsibility not just for our actions, but for our reactions, our beliefs, our thoughts, we reclaim our power. We're no longer victims of the storm. We become the calm within it. Think of someone like Maya. She spent years blaming her failed relationships on the other person. But once she began journaling, meditating, and sitting in silence with her own pain, she saw the patterns. She saw how her fear of abandonment shaped her choices. And she chose to heal. Not overnight, but step by step. And today, she no longer feels broken. She feels whole. So I'll ask you, what law of your life are you still handing over to someone else's control? Remember, true peace isn't something we stumble upon. It's something we take responsibility for. If that message stirred something inside you, don't ignore it. Take a quiet moment today. Reflect. Ask, where am I avoiding responsibility? And if you're ready for more healing truths like this, stay with us. We still have more Buddhist wisdom to uncover wisdom that might just change everything. Law 6. The law of connection. Everything is connected. Have you ever looked back at a small choice, something that felt meaningless at the time, and realized it changed everything? Maybe it was a detour you took on the way home, a conversation with someone you almost ignored, or a moment of stillness where you chose peace instead of reacting. That is the law of connection at work. According to this law, there is no isolated moment. Everything, your past, your present, even your future, is deeply intertwined. Like beads on a mala string, each one depends on the other to form the whole. There's a story about a monk who once said, "The way you drink your tea today echoes into lifetimes." At first, that sounds poetic. But when we really reflect, it becomes clear. No act is too small. No moment is wasted. That breath you're taking now, it shapes your next thought. And that thought, it becomes your next word. Then an action. And eventually, your destiny. So if you've ever wondered whether you're doing enough, remember this. Each mindful step you take, no matter how tiny, is a thread in the great tapestry of your life. You don't need to wait for a grand event to feel worthy. You're already walking the path, moment by moment. 2. If this thought speaks to something inside you, pause. Take a breath. Ask yourself, what energy am I putting into this moment? That's where the real connection begins. Law 7. The law of focus. You cannot think of two things at the same time. Let me tell you a story. There was a man who tried to chase two birds at once, ambition and peace. Every morning, he meditated for 5 minutes, then spent the next 5 hours scrolling through bad news, comparing his life to strangers. He couldn't understand why inner peace felt so far away. But here's the truth. You cannot think of two things at the same time. You cannot truly focus on your growth while holding on to your regrets. You cannot move toward healing while clinging to the stories that broke you. Focus is a form of love. When you choose to focus on what truly matters, your values, your growth, your higher goals, everything else begins to fall away. Negativity? It has no room to grow when your mind is rooted in gratitude. Jealousy? It dissolves when you focus on compassion. It's not about ignoring the unpleasant. Sometimes, the deepest lessons are hidden inside discomfort. But when your focus is steady, even pain can lead you somewhere beautiful. So ask yourself this. Right now, what has your attention? Is it helping you grow or pulling you backwards? If this message resonated with you, pause for a moment and realign your focus. And if you feel inspired, share this video with someone who might need a little light today. Law 8. The law of giving and hospitality. True intentions are demonstrated through selflessness. I want to tell you a story. There was once an old woman in a small village who had very little, just a clay pot, a wooden spoon, and a heart full of kindness. One day, a hungry traveler knocked on her door. She had barely enough rice for herself, but she gave it to him anyway, smiled, and said, "Come back if you're ever hungry again." She didn't do it to be seen. She didn't expect gratitude. She gave because that's who she was. This is the law of giving and hospitality. You see, our real intentions aren't revealed when life is easy. They show up in moments like that when no one is watching, and giving costs us something. The truth is, generosity isn't just about money or gifts. It's about presence. It's about time. It's about the quiet, invisible ways we show up for others. In Buddhism, giving is dana, a spiritual practice, not a transaction, but a reflection of who we are becoming. And here's the paradox. The more you give from the heart, the more whole you feel inside. It's not about being praised. It's about peace. Because the act of giving gently dissolves the ego, the law of us always asking, "What do I get in return?" So next time someone needs help, don't overthink it. Give. Even if it's small. Even if it's just your attention. Because in that moment, you're not just helping them. You're nourishing your own soul. If this touched something deep in you, don't just keep it in your heart, share it. Let's build a world where kindness flows naturally, without expectation. And if you've ever experienced a small act of generosity that changed your life, tell us in the comments below. Let's keep this circle of compassion going, one story, one heart at a time. Law 9. The law of presence. You cannot be present if you're stuck in the past or future. There was a time in my life when I kept replaying one mistake over and over in my head. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't focus. And the worst law? I missed what was happening right in front of me, moments with loved ones, sunsets, the laughter of my child gone in the fog of what if and why didn't I? Maybe you've been there too. You're haunted by regrets that can't be changed. Or you're daydreaming of a future that hasn't arrived, one that either excites or terrifies you. But here's what Buddhist wisdom teaches us. Presence is power. The past is memory. The future is imagination. Only this breath, this very second, is real. When we dwell in the past, we carry its weight. When we obsess over the future, we miss the steps we're walking now. But when we return to the present, something beautiful happens. We awaken. We start to feel the breeze again, taste our morning tea fully, listen to someone, not just hear them. This law reminds us that transformation doesn't live in someday. It lives in now. So use the lessons from your past not to punish yourself, but to walk wiser. Use your dreams not to escape, but to guide your next step today. Ask yourself, What am I truly present with right now? Because the present moment is not just a pause in time. It's the only place life ever happens. If this message touched something inside you, pause and breathe deeply. Then share in the comments. What helps you return to the present when your mind drifts? Your words might be the light someone else is searching for. Law 10. The law of change. History repeats itself, unless changed. Have you ever found yourself in the same situation? Again and again? Maybe it's a job that always drains you, or relationships that echo the same pain. You tell yourself, next time will be different. But then nothing changes. Why? Because true change doesn't happen just by thinking about it. It happens when you take action. There's a quiet truth in Buddhist wisdom. You don't step into the same river twice. But if you never change your steps, you'll keep ending up in the same water. Meet Sarah. For years, she kept falling into toxic relationships. Different faces, same heartbreak. It wasn't until she paused and really looked inward, recognizing her own fear of loneliness, that she began to shift. She started setting boundaries, saying no when it felt wrong, and slowly, something miraculous happened. Life met her where she stood. Healthier people came in. The cycle began to break. The law of change teaches us this. Patterns repeat until we wake up. The universe isn't punishing you. It's showing you what you need to see, again and again until you're ready. But awareness alone isn't enough. You must take a new step, speak a new truth, break your own pattern gently, but firmly. Change doesn't have to be dramatic. It can start in a single breath, a pause before reacting, a decision not to return that call, a choice to finally listen to your own needs. And when you do that, your outer world begins to shift like ripples from within reaching the surface. So let me ask you gently, what cycle is life asking you to break? If this touched your heart, pause for a moment and reflect. What small change can I take today that my future self will thank me for? Let's grow together. Share your thoughts in the comments. You're not alone in this journey. Law 11. The law of patience and reward. Nothing of value is created without patience. Have you ever planted a seed and waited? Not just waited for a few days, but really waited. Watered it, protected it, gave it light and space. And then, for the longest time, nothing seemed to happen. That's what real growth looks like. In life, the most meaningful things, healing, love, wisdom, transformation, don't bloom overnight. And yet, in this age of instant gratification, we often forget that the universe has its own rhythm. One that moves slower, deeper, but far more lasting than we imagine. There's a woman I once met. She spent 10 years writing a book, not for fame, not for success, but because each page healed a law of her. That book, it now helps thousands of others heal too. But it only happened because she stayed. She showed up day after day, even when no one was watching. That's the law of patience and reward. It whispers, don't rush your becoming. You see, when we compare ourselves to others, we often fall into despair. But when we trust our own path, we begin to understand life isn't a race. It's a quiet unfolding. So, if you're working on something, a dream, a relationship, or simply trying to become a little more at peace than yesterday, don't give up just because it's slow. Bamboo takes years to sprout, but when it does, it shoots up feet in days. You're not behind. You're just in your growing season. Breathe. Keep going. Trust that what you're building bit by bit, breath by breath, will blossom in its own divine time. If this message reached you at the right moment, maybe it's a sign to pause and believe in your own unfolding. Let us know in the comments. What are you growing in patience today? And if this brought you peace, share it with someone who needs a little reminder to keep going. Law 12. The law of significance and inspiration. Your contribution matters. Have you ever wondered if what you do really matters? Maybe it's just a small act, a kind word, a shared meal, a silent prayer before sleep. But in the grand web of life, no thread is ever too thin to hold weight. There's a quiet truth the Buddha once taught. Thousands of candles can be lit from a single flame, and the flame will not be diminished. You are that flame. Your presence, your effort, your courage to simply show up, they ripple through the lives of others in ways you may never fully see. I once met a man who spent his life planting trees. Not for profit, not for fame, but so that children he'd never meet would sit in their shade. That is significance. That is inspiration. We often wait for the right moment to make a difference. But the truth is, we are already making one every single day. So, what will your legacy be? Even the smallest act of kindness becomes sacred when done with intention. Your work, your story, your voice, they matter far more than you know. Keep choosing meaning over noise. Keep being the light when others forget how to shine. Because someone, somewhere, is watching, and they just might find the strength to keep going because you did. Conclusion. So, whether or not you believe in karma as a spiritual law, here's something to consider. What if your daily actions, every word, every thought, every small decision, are quietly shaping your life's direction? These 12 laws of karma aren't just ancient philosophy. They're a mirror reflecting how we treat others, how we treat ourselves, and what we leave behind in the hearts we touch. When you live with awareness of these principles, you start to see patterns more clearly. Why some relationships keep hurting. Why peace seems to slip away. Why fulfillment feels just out of reach. But it's not punishment. It's a gentle call to awaken. Karma isn't about fear. It's about cause and connection. About remembering that everything you put out, energy, words, choices, ripples through life in ways you may never fully see. You don't need to be perfect, but you can be intentional. You can choose to move through this world with a little more kindness, a little more stillness, and a lot more meaning. In the end, you are the sum of what you think, feel, and do day after day. And when those things align with wisdom and love, the world around you changes too. Not instantly, but undeniably. Maybe as you listen to these laws, someone's face came to mind. A friend, a parent, a version of yourself from long ago. If that happened, maybe it's not random. Maybe they need this message, too. So, if your heart feels moved, share this video with someone you care about. It could be the sign they didn't know they were waiting for. And if these words helped bring a little peace into your day, I invite you to stay a while. There's more wisdom to explore whenever you're ready.